Victorian London operated on a strict code of outward respectability, but beneath the bustling streets and gas lamps lay a labyrinth of poverty and vice. Navigating both these worlds was Mr. Gabriel Utterson, a dry, stoic lawyer who made it his business to look after reputable men who had fallen from grace. During a routine Sunday walk, Utterson and his cousin Richard Enfield find themselves staring at a blistered, neglected door, thrusting out from an otherwise well-kept street. The door triggers a disturbing memory for Enfield. He recalls wandering near this exact spot at 3 in the morning and witnessing a horrific collision. A small, strangely deformed man calmly trampled over a screaming child, continuing on his way like a human juggernaut. When Enfield and the enraged bystanders cornered the man, whose name was Edward Hyde, he offered no physical resistance. To avoid a public scandal, Hyde simply offered to pay the girl's family £100. He disappeared behind that very neglected door and returned with a check. But the signature on that piece of paper didn't belong to Hyde. It belonged to the wealthy, highly celebrated philanthropist, Dr. Henry Jekyll. For Utterson, this defies logic. Dr. Jekyll is a pillar of London society, yet he is inexplicably financing a violent street thug. If Hyde is extorting Jekyll, the doctor's pristine reputation is in immediate danger. The connection goes deeper than a single check. Sitting in his private safe is Dr. Jekyll's will. It dictates that in the event of Jekyll's death or unexplained disappearance, his entire fortune passes directly to Edward Hyde. Obsessed with putting a face to this nameless heir, Utterson begins to haunt the by-street, staking out the neglected door at all hours. When he finally intercepts Hyde, the encounter leaves the lawyer physically shaken. Hyde is pale and dwarfish, radiating a murderous aura and an unnameable sense of physical deformity that fills Utterson with visceral loathing. Utterson tries to warn his friend, but Dr. Jekyll waves off the concern. He assures the lawyer that his position is strange but completely under control, claiming he can easily rid himself of Mr. Hyde the moment he chooses. Utterson's world is built on precedents and paper trails, but here the logic of the law fails. He is forced to accept that a man of Jekyll's stature is tied to a monster by a bond that no legal framework can explain. Nearly a year passes before the violence spills into the upper class. A maid witnesses Mr. Hyde erupt into a sudden, ape-like fury, brutally clubbing to death Sir Danvers Carew, a widely respected member of Parliament. The murder weapon is left in the gutter. It is a heavy wooden cane shattered in half by the sheer force of the blows. When police show the broken stick to Utterson, his blood runs cold. He recognizes it as a gift he gave Dr. Jekyll years ago. With Hyde now a wanted murderer, Scotland Yard launches a massive public manhunt, but the suspect vanishes from the city, leaving behind a ransacked room and zero trace of his whereabouts. In the aftermath, Dr. Jekyll collapses. He locks himself away in his laboratory, his flesh falling away, carrying the look of a man living under a self-imposed death warrant. The terror proves contagious. Their mutual friend, Dr. Lanyon, suffers a massive, unexplained shock that kills him within weeks. He leaves Utterson a sealed envelope with strict instructions: do not open until the death or disappearance of Henry Jekyll. Hyde has evolved from a violent street criminal into an invisible, pervasive terror, dismantling the lives and minds of London's most educated and secure men. Utterson and Enfield attempt to check in on Jekyll, speaking to him through a half-open window facing the courtyard. The doctor looks like a disconsolate prisoner, but before they can finish their conversation, an expression of abject, freezing terror strikes his face, and he slams the window shut. Days later, Jekyll's butler Poole arrives unannounced at Utterson's home. Trembling, he begs the lawyer to follow him back to the estate, convinced that there has been foul play. The laboratory door is locked from the inside. For a week, someone or something has been throwing desperate written notes into the hallway, demanding pure chemical powders. And the voice crying out from behind the wood does not sound like Henry Jekyll. Realizing they're out of time, Utterson and Poole shatter the silence of the house, driving an axe through the heavy red baize door and forcing their way inside. They find the laboratory ransacked and a body twitching its last breaths on the floor. It is Edward Hyde, dead from a crushed vial of poison. Strangely, he is dressed in high-quality clothing that is far too large for his dwarfish frame. The physical hunt is over, but Utterson is left standing in a laboratory with a dead murderer, an empty suit of clothes, and no sign of the man who owns the house. Utterson finally breaks the seals on the letters left by Lanyon and Jekyll. The confession reveals the truth. Henry Jekyll had found a way to physically become Edward Hyde. Suffocated by the strict moral expectations of Victorian society, Jekyll sought a way to indulge his darkest urges without tarnishing his reputation. He invented a potion to chemically separate his respectable public persona from his hidden primal desires. But the experiment spiraled out of control. With every transformation, Hyde grew physically stronger until Jekyll began changing into the monster involuntarily in his sleep. Cut off from the specific impure chemical needed to reverse the process, Jekyll was permanently trapped, choosing suicide over standing trial as a murderer. The strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Edward Hyde reveals that bearing the dark, shameful facets of our human nature does not destroy them. It feeds them in the dark until they are strong enough to consume us entirely.